Shalom and good day, family. First, like giving honors to our Father in heaven. His name is Yahuwah. He is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We also want to give reverence unto his son, Yahusha HaMashiach, who is the Messiah, the Anointed One, the left of the sheep, the door, the fountain of the living waters, and the eye/light of the body, the ayin. And also, we like to give our respects unto our mother. Yes, what's done in heaven is also done in earth. This is how we come about to have a father and mother in the earth because it first started in the heavens. For the Messiah says this, that wisdom shall be justified by her children, meaning that she's not made in vain. She shall bring forth, or she shall create the children of light. Mysteries that I speak unto you. Now, what y'all see before you in this picture title is, what is the abomination of desolation? Unto the family of Yah, forgive me, we was planning to do something different with this topic. I was not planning to do a video, but some things have come up, so I didn't want to keep y'all waiting on for us to discuss this topic. What is the abomination of desolation? I know on YouTube is flooded with much information about this topic and the answer to this question. But what amazes me, the answer is right before you in the King James 611 Bible and also in the work of Josephus. Now, I was going through a couple of scriptures to give you the short version or the short answer of this, but unfortunately, due to the wealth of information that is presented in the Bible, and I'm talking about the 1611, and in the work of Josephus, I am going to have to break this up in parts. Okay. But this video, this part one is going to like give you the answer. And then the other videos to follow is going to give the proof, right, where you can go and find it in the Bible. So before we begin, let us get this part out the way. Okay. For I may be sharing some copyright material with you, and this is for education purposes only. This is to edify us. Okay. And what the Father is reminding me now, the answer was given to the prophets. Okay. It's right there, right before your eyes, y'all. It was really plain as day, but unfortunately, many didn't see it. And many are trying to say that this didn't happen yet. Or, in other words, let me correct myself. Many are trying to say that this is going to happen again. But when you understand the definition of abomination and the definition of desolation, you would have known that this is not going to happen again. This has already been past. It has been fulfilled. Okay. So let me take you to my channel where it all began. All right. One of my sisters shared a video with me dealing with Yah's calendar. And you know, his calendar is made of three lights, the sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth. I have to say that because many are not aware of this. All right. Soon as my internet act right, we can get to it. Okay. So it first started with this video. Okay. Now keep in mind, I don't really know the people in the video that I'm watching. This video was shared with me. Therefore, you may see that we may have some differences or we may not agree on certain topics. But what I was looking at in the video, what amazed me with this brother, his name is Uzziah, that he connected the prophecy that the Messiah was talking about with the abomination of desolation in Matthew 24 with the calendar. Remember, I keep telling y'all everything is connected to that calendar, okay? Especially the prophecies. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that. Okay. So in this video, he revealed that one of the things the Messiah was prophesying unto the Israelites during the time when he was preaching the gospel. Now, according to the dates on the heathens calendar, You may get 29 AD to 32 AD, or you may get 30 AD to 33 AD. So we know he was preaching within a 4-year timeline, preaching the gospel, preaching the good news. Okay, so he foretold unto the Israelites during that period of time of the judgment that would come upon them. And y'all know that judgment extends all the way back to the first one that was slaughtered, to all the prophets that were slaughtered, from Abel to all the prophets. Again, I'm giving you highlights again to understand the things that I'm saying, especially to my babes. You're going to have to read the 1611 Bible in the whole volume of the book. Okay. But there was a prophecy that had been told by all the ancient prophets of what would happen to Yahusha. All right. So what this brother had pointed out, that he noticed that the Messiah warned them, pray that this does not happen in winter nor on the Sabbath day. Now, for those who study the calendar and those who study the biblical events as well as the prophecies, this should be sending a light bulb unto you. Okay, because we're going to talk about this in the upcoming videos that pertain to the topic of what is the abomination of desolation. Okay, because Messiah was given a big hint. He said, pray does not happen in winter nor on the Sabbath day. The next video that will also connect to this topic is by our brother, make sure I remember his name correctly, Brother Zion Lex. Now, in this video, let me pause for a second, y'all. I forgot to give you the title of the first video by Brother Uzziah. Brother Uzziah title of that video was How to Count the High Holy Days in 2022 by Uzziah Israel. Okay. Now the next video that I will be referencing to is by Brother Zion Lex. The title of this video is Gazar Gematria Part 2 and the Transatlantic Slave Trade in, and I'm trying to see if it give me the full title of this, in Gematria. Okay, the transatlantic slave trade in Gematria. Okay, this is by our brother Zion Lex. The title of his channel is Zion Lex TV. He also give a interesting fact as he discussed this topic. For one of the interesting details that he give in this topic is he talks about the eagle. You go inside and say, what does this have to do with abomination of desolation? A lot. Okay, we're going to see how all these truths, information is connected to the abomination of desolation. So now that we have this out the way, let me close this out and we come back to our picture. In order to understand what the prophets is given unto you, whether it's Daniel or the Messiah, or whether you're reading the works of Josephus, to understand what is the abomination of desolation, you have to know the definition of what do abomination means and what do desolation means, according to the Bible, according to our Father in heaven. So I'm just going to give you the straight answer for this because we're going to be kind of going kind of fast because I don't want this video to be long and I don't want you to lose your attention. Excuse my tongue. But you are going to have to do your homework and your research on the things that I'm telling you from. I'm only able to give highlights. Okay. So abomination. Abomination means something that our Father in heaven hates. It is disgusting unto him. It is what's the other word I'm looking for? A horde unto him. That means he hates it with a passion. It disgusts him. I'm trying to think of another word, y'all. It's unpleasing unto him. Okay? It stinketh like swine flesh. That's how bad it disturbs our Father in heaven. That's what abomination is. Something that's going to disgust him, something that he abhor or hates with a passion. He hates it entirely. It is compared to the smell of swine of swine flesh, meaning that it stinks. It's rotten. Okay. Now, when you look at the definition of desolation, it means to be empty, to be void, to be not inhabitable, to be vacant. Do y'all see where I'm going with this? Because when you understand these two words and when you put these together, abomination, desolation, then you can come to this understanding. It is not a person, it is a thing. And it also includes the actions of what the heathens did when they came into his holy, sacred temple and city, which is Jerusalem. Okay? I'm giving y'all a key here because when you watch some other two videos I share with y'all, we got to include that. We got to include the temple, which is the house of Yahuwah, the place of worship, and we have to include his holy city, Jerusalem. That was the place where he put his name there. Okay? It was sacred. It was holy to our Father. It was set apart. He never had the holy to be mixed with the unholy. He never had the clean to be mixed with the unclean. He separated those things. Again, you got to walk in the whole Bible book of the things that I'm sharing to you. That's why I tell my babes you have to read Torah with the gospel to understand the prophet's writings as well as the scribe writings. So the abomination of desolation is a thing that take place that make the place so defiled, okay, that is not a place where you can no longer worship our Father in heaven because now it is defiled. Also, it is a place that has been destroyed by the heathens, by the Gentiles. Okay? Again, it is a place where no one can inhabit or dwell in or to worship in. Now that you have that definition, we're going to scriptures to verify the things that I'm saying unto you. Okay? Now, there are two books that gives you what is the abomination desolation that pertain to these two nations that the prophet Daniel prophesies about, as well as including the nation that Yahusha HaMashiach prophesies about. So to get the answer, you will have to go to the Apocrypha and read the book of the Maccabees. You're going to have to look at the Greek history of when they had conquered Jerusalem. You're going to have to look at that to truly understand what is the abomination of desolation. The next one you will have to go to is the work of Josephus. The work of Josephus is going to give you the concrete proof of what the prophets was prophesying unto you, whether it was Daniel, whether it was Yahushua HaMashiach, whether it was Joel, and many other prophets that talks about this matter. So as you see, you cannot avoid these books. And now you're seeing why the heathens or why the Gentiles are trying to discourage people from reading these books because it's going to give you the direct answer. Okay? So, first, let me give you what is the abomination of desolation during the time of the Greeks and during the time of the Romans. And then we're going to come back in the other parts and walk through more scriptures and evidence to confirm what I'm saying unto you. I think that would be only fair. So let us first go to the Apocrypha. We're going to go to the first book of the Maccabees. So this is why y'all see me being adamant of telling you get a copy of the 1611 Bible. If you are blessed to get an older copy, the older it is, the better. And this is why you see me encouraging you to read the chapter summary, because a lot of time, y'all, the answers in the chapter summary, or it will point to you where the answer can be found in the scriptures. So now we are looking at the Greek captivity, okay? Because when you read Daniel prophecy, it first started with the Greeks, but the Romans will complete it, okay? The Romans will complete it. That means it would be finalized by the Romans, meaning that it cannot come back. In other words, the temple of Yahuwah cannot come back, and the holy city of Jerusalem cannot come back, meaning that it cannot be rebuilt by man's hands. It is a place that is desolate, it's empty, it is void. There's no worshiping going on there. Okay, so in First Maccabees chapter 1, in the chapter summary, it says unto us, Antiochus give leave to set up the fashions of the Gentiles in Shalum, and spoil it, and the temple in it, and set up therein the abomination of desolation, and slew those that did circumcise their children. So let us go straight to verse 57, because that's what it's going to lead us to tell us what is that abomination desolation that was set up by the Greeks. So we're going to start reading at verse 57, and we're going to read down until we get to the answer of what is the abomination of desolation. Verse 57. And wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consent to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death. Okay, again, this is dealing with Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes. Okay, so as you see, he was keeping the people of Yahuwah. He was keeping the Israelites from keeping the covenant of Yahuwah. This is where you can see, like you say, the book of the testament. Remember, going back to Torah, testament is what? A witness. Also, testament is covenant. Covenant. And the covenant contains what? The law, or the instructions that Yahuwah has given unto us, that should what? Give us eternal life, physically and spiritually. I speak mysteries unto you. Okay? When the Father is giving instruction on how to do things, it is to benefit you physically and spiritually. Let us keep reading. Verse 58. Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now, the 25th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the altar, upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of Yahuwah. This is the verse you want to highlight. It's giving you the abomination of desolation. Now, they're telling you when they offer sacrifices upon this altar, okay? It was offered on the 25th day of the month known as Caslu, and Caslu is the 9th month in the Most High calendar. So that's when they offer sacrifices upon this altar. But what type of altar? They offer sacrifices upon the idol altar, when this idol altar was upon the altar of Yahuwah. Now, in the upcoming parts that will follow after this video, we're going to get in more detail what was the altar of Yahuwah, that the heathens put an idol altar upon it. That is the answer. But let me go up higher too, because it's giving you another date about this idol altar that was put up by the heathens, the Greeks. Okay? It's another important date, verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month, Caslu, in the 140th, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and built idol altars throughout the city of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. This is another verse to highlight. So it's giving you the answer. What is the abomination of desolation? What is the thing that the Father hates the most that led to the desolation of the temple and Jerusalem? The temple and Jerusalem. So during the Greek times, we got a date here, y'all. The 15th day of the month of Caslu is when the heathens, the Greeks, put the idol altar upon the Most High altar. For your homework, for those who are advancing their studies, you can go ahead and read ahead to find what was that altar that the heathens put the idol altar upon it. What was that altar of Yah? Okay, it's in the scriptures. It will give it unto you. So you can go back and trace it in Torah and see what was the purpose of that altar and what was offered on that altar according to Yahuwah's instructions. Okay? So again, the 15th day of Caslu, Caslu is the 9th month of the Most High calendar according to the Israelite calendars. Because remember, there's two types of calendars. You have the Adamic calendar and you have the Israelite calendar. So according to the Israelite calendar, the month Caslu is the 9th month. Now, as far as the date of the Greeks, it was in the 145th year of the Seleucid Empire or the Greeks Empire. I'm sitting here looking for my Bible now to get you the date on that because I have it in my notes where it was converted in the BC time. I do want to say I think that was 167, but let me check to make sure. Yeah, it's in 167 BC equals the 145th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Of the kingdom of the Greeks. Okay? So that's another verse to highlight because it's giving you the abomination of desolation because it's going to happen with two nations. It first happened with the Greeks, and then the second nation happened with the Romans. And what I think is so ironic, and I have to mention this because you're going to see why I mentioned this. Both nations was started by the children of Edom, Esau. You have to read the book of Jasper and also work of Josephus as well as the Bibles. We can look at how the nations were created, who was their forefathers. Okay, and from studying, you're going to learn that Edom mixed himself with the sons of Japheth. And when he did that, two nations were created. You have the nation of the Greeks and the nation of the Romans. Okay? You're going to see how all this can be connected. Because remember, I talked about what? The eagle. Okay? You're going to see how all this is connected and why we're still seeing the eagle as a symbol for these nations that are coming against Israel or keeping Israel into captivity. Okay? All right. So the next part we're going to go to is the abomination of desolation for the Romans. Okay? We're going to look at the Romans. To find that answer, we have to go to, I know it's two places that's going to give you what was the abomination desolation of the Romans. Okay. And then we'll go to another part that's what's going to define what it is or give you a definition. Okay. So where we're going to go at first, we're going to go to War 6.6.1. In parentheses, the number would be 316. So that's where we're going to go at first. So we got to go to chapter 6 now. Okay, we're in chapter 6 and we go to section 1 and we're going to look for the number 316. So this website don't have the, the reference number within the paragraph, so I don't have to find it. So we're going to read the chapter summary of chapter 6. It says, how the Romans carried their ensigns to the temple. You want to underline that. It's giving you the abomination desolation. It's telling you what it is. How the Romans carried their ensigns to the temple and made joyful acclamations to Titus. The speech that Titus made to the Jews when they made supplication for mercy, what reply they made thereto, and how that reply moved Titus' indignation against them. If you've noticed how the Father will always raise up a Gentile king or a Gentile ruler to come against his people, to bring his judgment upon them. This is why it's good to read the prophet Joel writings, because you would see, based on the prophets and based on the historical books that's in the Old Testament, okay, including Torah, you would see how the Father would raise up a Gentile to carry out his judgments against the Israelites. And it's because of what? They're disobedient. And because they broke what? The covenant. Okay. So we're going to read starting from here to here. And now the Romans, upon the flight of the seditious into the city, and upon the burning of the holy house itself, and of all the buildings round about it, brought their ensigns to the temple, and set them over against its eastern gate. You want to underline that, eastern gate. Go back to look at Ezekiel writings dealing with the future house that would come. Look at Ezekiel chapter 46 to understand more about the eastern gate, what would take place there. Okay. So notice this, they brought their ensigns to the temple and set them over against its eastern gate. So it's across from the eastern gate. And there did they offer sacrifices to them. And there did they make Titus imperator with the greatest acclamation of joy. I'm giving y'all the answer of the abomination of desolation of the Romans. Again, Daniel prophecy of the 70 weeks have been fulfilled, and Josephus writes about it. Okay? Josephus writes about it. He will confirm. He would give you the proof. Dealing with the Romans and dealing with the Greeks. Okay? So now we're going to get understanding, what are these ensigns? What are these ensigns? But we need to go to another chapter to see what else accompany along the ensigns. So notice there, the Romans, the heathens, will offer sacrifices to these insides. Where? This is in what? It was what, near? No. Where is the what? The temple. They brought their insides to the temple, and they set these insides across from the eastern gate, and there they offered sacrifices unto them. Okay. Next place we're going to go to is war. Five point 2.1. War 5.2.1. And I'm going to make a note of what I read unto you in this video, so I won't do it on the next video. Okay. So we're going to go to chapter 2, and we're going to look at section 1. Let me see where I can find it. It's in number 48. Here we go. We're going to read this sentence here. You'll find the answer in this part here. Let us read the chapter summary. This is chapter 2 of the book of War, book 5, chapter 2, and we're in section 1. The summary of this chapter is how Titus marched to Jerusalem, y'all. See, so it's confirming what city that he's in. How Titus marched to Jerusalem, and how he was in danger as he was taking a view of the city, of the place also where he pitched his camp. Okay, so now we're going to see what accompanied along with them with their ensigns. Okay, let me read from the top so you can see how this is going to flow into this sentence. Now, as Titus was upon his march into the enemy's country, the auxiliaries that was sent by the kings marched first, having all the other auxiliaries with them, after whom followed those that were to prepare the roads and measure out the camp. Then came the commander baggage, and after that the other soldiers, who were completely armed to support them. Then came Titus himself, having with him another select body. And then came the pikemen, after whom came the horse belonging to the legion. Listen up, y'all. Here go the answer. So we can see what accompanied these ensigns. All these came before the engines. Okay, so they said all these came before the engines. And after these engines came the tribunes and the leaders of cohorts with their selected bodies. So it's telling you what's coming after the engines. After these came the ensigns. So what came after the engines and after the tribunes and leaders of the cohorts with their select bodies came the ensigns with the eagle. Do y'all hear that? After these came the ensigns with the eagle, and before those ensigns came the trumpeters belonging to them. What do the trumpets do? It is to announce what? Like a king or something that somebody placed on high, like an important announcement. You know what I'm saying? It's something that's very important. So notice here that the trumpeters that belong to the Romans will come before the ensigns. And the reason is the trumpeters are to blow their horns to announce those ensigns that is accompanied along with the eagle. Okay, let's keep reading. And before those ensigns came, the trumpeters belonging to them. Next, these came the main body of the army in their ranks, every rank being 6 deep. The servants belonging to every legion came after these, and before these last their baggage. The mercenaries came last, and those that guarded them brought up their rear. So he's giving you the order of how they march into the company. You know, what was first, what was second, or whatever, what was in the middle, and what was after. But notice here, this is very important. It's giving you the abomination of desolation. It's also giving you the symbol that we can see that Edom is ruling the earth, and his symbol is the eagle. The eagle. So those who have the eagle symbol is showing their empires, their kingdoms of Edom. Okay. Now, to get the definition of ensigns, to know what that is, we have to go to Antiquities 18.3.1. 18.3.1. So we go in the book of the Antiquities of the Jews. Okay. We're going to chapter 3. And then we're going to section 1. Section 1. So we can get the definition of the ensigns. I'm going to read this whole paragraph. So chapter 3 is dealing with the sedation of the Jews against Pontius Pilate concerning the Messiah and what befell Paulina and the Jews at Rome. And we know Pontius Pilate is part of the Roman Empire too, so knows what take place. But now Pilate, the procurator of Judea, removed the army from Caesarea to Jerusalem to take their winter quarters there in order to abolish the Jewish laws. So he introduced Caesar's effigies, which was upon the ensigns. Do y'all hear that? Caesar's effigies. They was upon the ensigns and brought them into the city. Wait, what city he bring them into, y'all? To Jerusalem. Whereas our laws forbade us the very making of images. So you begin to understand these ensigns was images that the heathen made, okay, of their idols, their gods, their standards. So I got some pictures to show you some Roman ensigns. So you know what the Father say about images, okay? Whereas our laws forbid us the very making of images, on which account the former procurators were wont to make their entry into the city with such ensigns as had not those ornaments. Okay, so they had that stuff, decorated. That stuff was looking good to them, y'all. This is the heathen stuff now. Let's keep reading. Pilate was the first who brought those images to Jerusalem. Again, ensigns going hand with images, and set them up there, which was done without the knowledge of the people, because it was done in the night. Okay, so you see how this heathen do. He slips it in on them in the nighttime. But as soon as they knew it, they came in multitudes to Caesarea and interceded with Pilate many days that he would remove the images. So the multitudes went to Caesarea. Okay, Caesarea. And when he would not grant their request, because it would tend to the injury of Caesar. Okay, remember, because heathens worship their leaders. Okay, while yet they preserve in their request, on the 6th day he ordered his soldiers to have their weapons privately while he came and sat upon his judgment seat, which seat was so prepared in the open place of the city that it concealed the army that lay ready to oppress them. And when the Jews petitioned him again, he gave a signal to the soldiers to encompass them root. See, Pilate was about to kill him, y'all. But he don't understand the history of my people. They would lay down their life for the law. That's how much they take the Father's commandments seriously. Okay? So the soldiers was beginning to surround the people, right? And threatened that their punishment should be no less than immediate death unless they would leave off disturbing him and go their ways home. But now listen to this. See what my people do. But they threw themselves upon the ground and laid their necks bare and said they would take their death very willingly, rather than the wisdom of their laws should be transgressed. Upon which Pilate was deeply affected with their firm resolution to keep their laws inviolable, and presently command the images to be carried back from Jerusalem to Caesarea. See, our people don't play for those who really keep the covenant of Yahuwah. They didn't fear death, they fear Yah. And that's how we should be. We should be ready to die for him. All right. So now this passage give you an understanding what are the ensigns. They are images. So when we Google some ensigns of the Romans, these are some pictures that came up. And what I think is so interesting, we see the eagle along with some of these ensigns. Okay. So we look at a couple of them. So let's look at this one. These are some Roman standards. You can see Roman standards going hand in hand with ensigns. Okay. You can see, and again, you see the eagle along with certain ensigns of the Roman standards. Okay. So when you get a chance, Google ensigns of Rome. Now you begin to see why we have the other nations, such as America. You can see the ensign among the Germans. You would see the eagle in many of these nations, the empire of Edom. So the prophet that prophesies this unto you, I know when you look at Genesis, prophet Hosea, and then Ezra's writings in the Apocrypha, you begin to see how Edom is ruling the earth. He's ruling, but you have to understand the prophecies to understand how he's ruling the earth. And his ensigns or his images that has the eagle with it is the proof. Okay. There's some symbol of the Romans legions here. Again, we see the eagle in this. These are some ancient Roman symbols that we see here. Again, we see the eagle amongst them as well as many other symbols. This is another symbol of the Roman Empire. And that's just the same empire that Daniel prophesies unto us. So this is the final empire we are in. We are in the Roman Empire. Again, the eagle will confirm this. And then we click on this last one right here. Again, you can Google and get an idea of what were some of the ancient ensigns or the ancient images that the Romans carried with them. So looking at Torah to understand why my people were willing to die for the removal of these ensigns, okay, you have to go back to Torah. So when you Google images, you will see many scriptures that pertains to images and how the Father found upon these images that are idols that are made by heathens. Okay, such as when we read Exodus chapter 24, I mean Exodus chapter 23, And we're going to start probably the verse above 24. It reads like this. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgression, for my name is in him. This is the angel that is sent with Israel to lead them to the promised land. Okay. Oh, I read up too high. Sorry about that. I'm supposed to read verse 23. For my angel shall go before thee and bring thee in unto the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Canaanites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. Thou shalt not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do after their works, but thou shalt utterly overthrow them and quite break down their images. And you will see this being done throughout the Bible when you begin to read about certain biblical events of how even certain kings will have these things removed, such as King Josiah. See what he does to get the land back into righteousness with Yah. Okay, that's one verse. Another verse I would like for us to look at with that pertains. Excuse me, y'all. Trying to get my headphones just right. That pertains to images is Exodus chapter 34. And we are probably going to read in a couple of scriptures above so you can get an idea that the Father don't like this. This is dealing with idolatry. Okay. And when you study the word gods and you go back in the Hebrew language, gods in the lower Gods means someone who is your judge, your ruler, your chief. In other words, someone who's in a leadership position that is to be over people or to be over something or dealing with the governing body. So when you read a prophecy such as that's found in the book of Micah, you're going to see that the lower Gods, their name is going to be in the forehead of those people who come under their reign. So this is why it's so important to go back in the Hebrew language to understand what does it mean for us to be gods. Okay. The lower Gods. I just want to bring that out because I see too much of the Romans doctrine about the worship of deities coming into the Father's word, and many are not understanding what that truly means. Okay, because even the Messiah instructs us to worship our Father in heaven. Even Torah instructs us to only worship our Father in heaven. So many don't understand the definition of one. When Torah give you the definition of one, it means they all work on the same accord. They all work together, just as husband and wife are one, meaning that they work together. Like I said, a lot of the Roman doctrines. So when we look at Exodus chapter 34, let us read above in verse 12. Take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, whether thou goest, lest it be for a snare in the midst of thee. So he's talking to the Israelites that follow the covenant that Yahuwah gave to them. Follow his instructions. Don't follow the ways of the heathen, okay? Because if they do, they're going to end up transgression against the covenant that Yahuwah made with them. So let me read verse 12 again. Take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land whither thou goest, lest it be for a snare in the midst of thee. So again, he was warning the Israelite, don't go in covenant with the heathens, because within that covenant arrangement, they are going to cause them to sin or to transgress against the covenant they made with Yah. This is why the fathers forewarning them. For verse 13 says, but ye shall destroy their altars, break their images, and cut down their groves, for thou shalt worship no other God. For Yahuwah, or for Adonai, whose name is jealous, is a jealous Elohim. Okay? Lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they go a whoring after their gods, and do sacrifice unto their gods. One call thee, and thou eat of his sacrifice. and thou take of their daughters unto their sons, and their daughters go a whoring after their gods, and make their sons go a whoring after their gods. So again, he detests idolatry. Idolatry. So let me see how much time we got left. What I want to do, I'm planning to close out with a reading from the work of Josephus to give you sound biblical proof that Daniel's 70 weeks have came to pass fully. Then you can understand what the Messiah was prophesying unto them. And in the following parts, we're going to go into when the Messiah was saying that pray that it not be in winter nor on the Sabbath day. We're going to see a connection with that as we go into the books. Also, we're going to look at more definition of the word desolation according to the biblical according to the biblical definition. It is witnessed in the scriptures. The scriptures give that. Okay, so we'll be looking at a lot of things when we come back. So let us go to Antiquities. Trying to find my spot. Here we go. We're gonna go to Antiquities 11.10.7. This is the part I'm going to read unto you, and I want you to go back in your spare time and hear what was written. So it's going to talk about two empires, the Greeks and the Romans. Okay, and we're going to go to chapter 10. Or did I go past it too quick? Let me check my book. Let's see where this is in. Oh, we in book 10, not book 11. Sorry about that. I reversed my numbers. We in book 10, then chapter 11. Sorry about that. So we're going to chapter 11 now. Let me read the chapter summary to you. It said, concerning Nebuchadnezzar and his successors, and how their government was dissolved by the Persians, and what things befell Daniel in Media, and what prophecies he delivered there. This is the part we're going to focus on. What was the prophecies given to Daniel? So we're going to go to section 7. Now, section 7 is a very long chapter to read, so bear with me where I decide to pick up at, because it is a very long chapter. So for your homework, I want you to read this entire chapter, but I'm going to skip some parts and get right down to the answer. Okay? So let me start. I'm trying to see where I want to start at. We're going to start with the part with, in my book, it starts with 265. Because Dan was very well known among the Israelites and among the Gentiles. Okay, so bear with me. So we're going to start with this part here first. Just give you a little bit insight about Daniel. Okay. Now they buried the kings of Media and of Persia and Parthia in this tower to this day, and he was entrusted with the care of it was a Jewish priest. With the care of it was a Jewish priest, which thing is also observed to this day. But is but it is fit to give an account of what this man did. They're talking about Daniel, which is most admirable to hear. For he was so happy as to have strange revelations made to him. I want y'all to underline this. When Daniel received these properties, it was very strange unto him, and you can see why when you look at the times that he was in and what was yet to come. And those as to one of the greatest of the prophets. See, he's considered to be one of the greatest of the prophets, insomuch that while he was alive, he has esteem and applause both of the kings and of the multitude. And now he is dead. He retains a remembrance that will never fail, for the several books that he wrote and left behind are still read by us till this day. So Josephus confirmed to you that the Israelite was still reading his books even up in his time. And from them, we believe that Daniel conversed with Yahuwah. So they believe that Daniel actually talked to our Father from heaven. For he did not only prophesy of future events, as did the other prophets, but he also determined the time of their accomplishment. That's another thing you want to underline. And because he's given one of those parts to understand revelations. The other part is given to Ezra in the Apocrypha to understand revelations. Okay? Now you begin to see why the heathens don't want you to read those books. And while the prophets used to foretell misfortunes, and on that account were disagreeable both to the kings and to the multitude, Daniel was to them a prophet of good things, and this to such a degree that by the agreeable nature of his predictions he procured the goodwill of all men, and by the accomplishment of them he procured the belief of their truth, and the opinion of a sort of divinity for himself among the multitude. He also wrote and left behind him what made manifest the accuracy and undeniable veracity of his predictions. For he saith that when he was in Susa, the metropolis of Persia, and went out into the field with his companions, there was on the sudden a motion and concussion of the earth, and that he were left alone by himself, his friends fleeing away from him, and that he was disturbed and fell on his face and on his two hands, that a certain person touched him, and at the same time bid him rise and see what befall his countrymen after many generations. Now, this is the part we're going to skip down, and this is going to lock it in. Well, I'm going to tell you about the 70 weeks. It has come to pass. And his book gave you what? The Abomination of Desolation for the Romans. So now we're going to go down to 276. Okay, here we go. Trying to see if I want to read up ahead. But he's going to give you detail about the Greek Empire and what came to pass and how it fulfilled Daniel's chapter, I believe it's Daniel's chapter 8, when he get into about the 2300 days. Also, when you look at the 1,290 days. Now, when you read the copy that we have of Josephus, I want to say this: the heathens has been in the book. So even in the same book, when you read everything that's in this book, y'all, you will learn that when they made a copy of a copy of a copy, sometimes the numbers was not correctly um, copied or translated correctly. However, when you read this passage, it will confirm that the 1290 days have been fulfilled by the Greeks. It also will confirm that the 2300 days have also been filled by the Greeks, because when you read the book yourself, you're going to learn that the Israelites had to rededicate the temple twice, twice in the time of the Greeks. So that's how you get the 2300 days. The first time deal with the 1290 days. When you do your math, there's some math involved, and you have to know Yahuwah's calendar on how to do the count. You cannot use the Gregorian calendar. So I'm going to tell you that right now. So we're going to start reading here and all the way down. And indeed, it so came to pass that our nation suffered these things under Antiochus Epiphanes, according to Daniel's vision, and what he wrote many years before they came to pass. Now, here's the answer about the Romans, y'all. So underline this sentence. In the very same manner, Daniel also wrote concerning the Roman government. This is where your 70 weeks come in, y'all. Let me read this again. Just like in the same way of the Greeks, it was done in the same manner of the Romans. In the very same manner, Daniel also wrote concerning the Roman government, and that our country should be made desolate by them. Do y'all hear that? Their country should be made desolated by them. Talking about Jerusalem and the temple. Okay? This is what the Messiah was talking about. All these things did this man leave in writing, as Yahuwah has sown them to him, insomuch that such as read his prophecies and see how they have been fulfilled would wonder at the honor wherewith Yahuwah honored Daniel, and may thence discover how the Epicureans are in error, who cast providence out of human life, and did not believe that Yahuwah takes care of the affairs of the world, nor that the universe is governed and continue in being by the blessed and immortal nature, but say that the world is carried along of its own accord, without a ruler and a curator, which were it destitute of a guide to conduct it as they imagine, it would be like ships without pilots, which we see drowned by the winds, or like chariots without drivers, which are overturned. See, I'm going to pause here. Do you see what Josephus is saying here? For those who didn't believe that all things are under the will of Yahuwah. Remember what Joseph said. All things work out to the good of Yah, whether it's evil or good. In the end, it works out to his will, to his good. So the Father is still in control of all things. That's what Joseph is saying here. But to those who do not believe, they think things just happen on its own with no one to guide, lead, or be over it, or to be in control of it. Okay. So let us pick up right here. So would the world be dashed to pieces by its being carried without a providence, and so perish and come to naught, so that by the forementioned prediction of Daniel, those men seem to me very much to err from the truth, who determine that Yahuwah exercises no providence over human affairs. For if that were the case, that the world went on by mechanical necessity, we should not see that all things will come to pass according to his prophecy. Now, as to myself, I have so described these matters as I have found them and read them. But if any one is inclined to another opinion about them, let him enjoy his different settlements without any blame from me. So we're going to stop there today. This is part 1. Now that you know what is the abomination of desolation and the place that has to be taken care of, taking place in, that's dealing with the temple of the Most High Yah in the holy city, Jerusalem. And that's dealing with the idols, the images of the heathens that are coming along with what? An eagle for the Romans. For the Greeks, it was the idol altar that they put upon the altar of Yahuwah. And we're going to learn what is that altar of Yahuwah that they did this upon. Okay. Where they sacrificed, where they made their sacrifice upon. So now you see what the abomination that's dealing with idolatry, and the desolation is dealing with the desolation is dealing with the destruction, the emptiness, the place being uninhabitable, or the place that should be empty of worshipers. It would be what? Vacant. So now in the upcoming parts, we're going to look at some more scriptural definition of desolation, and we're going to look at some biblical events that take place with the Greeks as well as with the Romans, and we'll also look at some more prophecy. I hope y'all enjoy this word. To my family, I hope this answers your question about what is the abomination desolation. Remember, there's many people saying many things about Daniel's 7 weeks, but they're not going to the prophets nor to the scribes for the proof and confirmation of how these things are fulfilled. They are listening to man, and they're not listening to whom Yahuwah has placed to give the answer. Remember, he only sold his secrets to his prophets. So if you want the answer, you go to the prophets, which the prophets will lead you to the scribes. And I highly recommend that you read about Josephus because he has a very interesting life. He comes from the sect of Pharisees. It also comes from the lineage of the Maccabees. And I see why the Father raised him up to write these biblical events to show proof or to be a testimony or to be a witness unto you that these things did come to pass. Okay? Let's see. It was one more thing I wanted to show y'all, but I'm trying to remember what it was before I end this video. Um okay, I now remember what I want to show y'all. This is dealing with, there was a video that had came out about the third temple, biblical prophecy with a question mark. I highly recommend that you watch that video because what is taking place, what I see what happened on the internet, like YouTube and Facebook, many people have different understanding about the Daniel 70 weeks and not aware that it has already been fulfilled. For some reason, they thinking that the Daniel 70 weeks is going to repeat itself. But when you come in the whole volume of the book and you learn about certain biblical events that are taking place, we know the temple has been destroyed. We also know the holy city has been destroyed. They are desolate, meaning that they are not inhabited. There's no worshiping going there. So that is your proof and confirmation that the Daniel 70 weeks had already been fulfilled. It is not coming back. We are now entering into the other part of Daniel prophecy, of Daniel 11, reading from, I think it was verse 40 to 45. Let me look at my Bible. Okay, let me go here. So in Daniel 11, this is the phase we're about to enter into now, because Daniel 11 has the past, the present, and the future. So when you look at verse 40, going down to 45, this is where we'll be entering into. Okay? All right. I hope y'all enjoyed this word. Again, check out the third temple, biblical prophecy with a question mark. Okay. And now that you know what the abomination of desolation is, continue. Now that you know that, now you know that we don't have long, y'all. For we are in the 8th day of Adam, which is the 13th day of creation. And according to the prophets, we only have 2 more days left, which is the 14th day and 15th day of creation, which is the 9th day and the 10th day from Adam. And of those 2 days that's left, one of those days is the Messiah millennial reign. He's going to reign for 1,000 years. And the last day that is left, that is when the Father is going to judge all, mankind and angels, as well as those stars who did not do his will. That is the day where he's going to judge all, and he's going to bring the new Jerusalem, and he is going to also cast those who are in Sheol into the eternal lake of fire. Again, he only showed the mysteries unto his prophets. He gives us the dates. He gives them the confirmation. But we need to slow down. We need to stop listening to so many people. We need to go back to the book and hear what do the prophets of Yah have to say, and hear those that he also put in position to give us the biblical events in history, despite of what the heathens have done to his sacred books, such as books as like the King James 1611 Bible, the work of Josephus, Jasper, Jubilees, and many other sacred books, as well as Enoch's writings, first, second, and third. We need to go back to them because they was ordained to prophesy unto us to let us know what will be coming, so we will be caught off guard. That way we can make it into the kingdom of heaven. So again, the abomination of desolation of the Greeks was that idol altar that they placed upon the altar of Yahuwah in his temple. The abomination of desolation for the Romans was when they brought their ensigns with the eagle and they made their sacrifices in the temple that was across from the eastern gate. I hope y'all enjoyed this word, this lesson. Continue, my brothers and sisters, to preach that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, for it's truly at hand. And make sure the people receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10, and baptize the people in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. For the Lamb set the example of the water baptism and the Holy Spirit baptism, and his apostles, which are his disciples, continued in both. Now, if you have no one to baptize you, you are covered, for the water, the earth, and the heavens are a witness unto our Father, and they can report back unto him of those who had entered into the new covenant, which is the renewed marriage. And the same is with the Holy Spirit baptism. Father has made it simple. You do not have to go to no man, no building, or you don't have to go to anything or anyone to receive it. All you have to do is ask in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, and he shall give it unto you according to your heart, your faith, and your words. Love you all, and shalom.